this is your teacher. I know you thought that you wouldn't have to see my face again, but you're going to have to. You might hear a little girl in the background. Can you say your name?
June.
June's my kid, and she is with me right now. So I wanted to give you a decent video on the basics of portrait drawing, so you guys get to be so lucky as to see the pants that I haven't put away in my house. But I thought we would...
draw.
Nope, I need to draw.
And then I draw?
And then you can draw after, but it's going to be a while. Okay, so I wanted to go over the basics right here. You will see that the top of my head is not where my hair starts. That's going to be the most common mistake that people make. So I'm going to give you the basics of the proportions, and then I'm going to draw a face, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along with me. So if you guys notice, the eyes are about halfway through the hair. So if we follow my head and show the top of my head, it's like right about here, if you see that. My eyes hit right about halfway through, and then the bottom of my nose is a little bit above halfway through that, and then the bottom of my lip is halfway through that. So we have a half point, a fourth point, and an eighth point. These obviously are flexible. As you can see, there's little differences right here where everything lines up, but they are the general rule. Also, usually the corner of your eye, let me change colors just so it's easier to see. The corner of your eye is going to match up usually with the outside of your nose, and where your pupils would be if you looked forward is usually going to line up with the outside of the mouth. Now, like I said, there is some flexibility in this. The ears usually connect where the eyes and the nose are. So usually those connect. Now this looks a little bit confusing.
I need a new cover for me.
Okay, we'll put a new cover. This looks a little bit confusing, so we're going to go ahead and use those images that we just, or use those, what's the word? I forgot the word, sorry. Nope, it's gone. Anyways, we're going to use the stuff I just told you. So first we're going to start with a brain space. This is where the brain goes. You will need this later. Actually, you will need it right now. B-R-A-I-N, brain. I just want to make sure I wasn't spelling Brian. Brain? Brian? B-R-I-N? Okay, brain, okay. And then you have a face area. Now this, about the same, a little bit less than the same space right there. And that will allow you to draw a decent face. Okay, now it is really helpful to have a reference so that you can modify the things you need to modify. However, it isn't super necessary when you're first learning, because we're just trying to figure out where things go. But I'm going to have my reference right here. If you want to have a reference just so you can get good at drawing specific things, then go ahead and do that. Looking at my reference of myself, I need to curve the outside of my face a little bit. Yes, June?
I need to draw.
You will in a little bit, but I'm busy teaching right now. So we had that rule where the eyes sit halfway, and my eyes were slightly above halfway. So we're going to put the eyes right there. That the nose was at the 1/4, so this is half, this is 1/4, and that the mouth was at the 1/8. Okay, so nose right about here. Here's the middle of the face, by the way. And mouth right about there. So if you guys can see, we're going to divide the face a little bit into eyes. Eyes right about there. If we notice we have some gap here. References, super, super, super helpful. June, I need to just stop, please. Thank you. Okay, so references are super helpful. They allow you to modify things. For example, my face has some extra fat on the sides. Not a bad thing. It just is what it is, which means my face is going to be wider than if I was thinner. So the reference is going to be really helpful for that. Now that we have our basics with a half, a fourth, and eighth, and we've divided our face, stop. We are now going to start doing our details. So just like in our basic shape method, how we used our basic shapes to create, again, I'm sorry, you guys, you're going to have to deal with my kid. She's 3, so how we use, I asked you to stop. Thank you. How we used basic shapes to create the skeleton, we're using the proportions, that's the word, to create the skeleton for the face. Ovals for the eyes, kind of like an almond shape.
I like black.
Some eyes you'll notice they have a straight line up and then a curve over. That kind of helps make them look a little bit more realistic. So you kind of do a straight line and then a curve, or just an almond shape in general. Okay, then for the nose, you see you kind of have these 3 shapes. And then they combine to create the nose.
Now.
To create the nose shape. Okay. With my nose, you can see that we were at a little bit lower of an angle, so the nostrils were a little bit more sideways, kind of at an angle, and that we could see the bottom curve there. So, then we have lips that kind of make these shape. So we got circles, we got triangles. We're going to use those to create. It's not crying, I'm just trying to make sure that we can see where the middle of the eye is to create the mouth shape. Okay, now this is not going to show all the detail, but it will give us enough detail to start working with other things. Like shading and all that. Just like your outlines about your still life didn't really have all the detail and didn't really look realistic until you started doing shading. Eyes, your pupils almost never are fully visible. And by that I mean you don't have this going on. Hi, because then you'll look like you're on drugs. So if you go like this, you're going to look super scared, or you're going to look like you're on drugs. So instead, you got your eyeball, you got your pupil, and what you want is for your eyelid to cut into the pupil so that you don't look like you're super scared or on drugs. Obviously, certain positions of the eyeball are going to look more calm and all that. Your eyebrow, stop, June. Goes like this, straight off your eye. Come up here. Obviously, different people have different eyebrows. I happen to have kind of triangle eyebrows. Okay, and then my face is relatively wide. You guys can hear my kid making weird noises in the background. Hey, June, can you make a fart noise? Yeah, can you make a fart noise for my class? Go ahead, make a fart noise. Don't actually fart. Oh, you guys. Okay, so for the hair, hair will range from anywhere where it's like halfway down the forehead to almost all the way up to the top. This hair changes a lot. I happen to have a decently large forehead, which I really like. Some of you have a lower forehead, some of you don't. Now I'm just going to add the shape of my hair, and now we're getting into the details. So what we did is we broke down our proportions, which eyes were at halfway, nose were at 1/4, mouth was usually at 1/8. You see the bottom of the nose. We also had eyes. The middle of the eyes were really close to the middle or the outside of the mouth, and the middle or the inside of the nose was really close to the inside of the eye. Now this will change if you have a different ethnicity. For example, if you have African heritage, then your nose tends to be a little bit wider, or Polynesian heritage. And these proportions are mainly based upon Caucasian people, because that was the people around during the Renaissance. But this was the proportions used during the Renaissance. Now what I would like you guys to do is to go ahead and either, if you're following along with this, awesome, go ahead and turn in a picture of what you've done. If you weren't following along, go ahead and take the time to take out a piece of paper and try to follow along with what we did. Remember, we used our basic shapes for lips and noses and all that, so don't get too caught up on that. Just use your basic shapes, erase the parts you don't need, right? We have our proportions that tells us where to put stuff. So if you're super confused, take a really light hand, draw those proportions, and then modify it to match your person, which happens to be me over here. So there's your beautiful art teacher that you get to draw. Lucky you guys, yay. Also, I hope you're all being safe and that you're enjoying your time at home. Thanks.